Welcome everybody, my name is Michael and today we're discussing about Su Tzu and Kyle Davies from Three Arrows Capital. They have disappeared. Now, they might have left the country. There were some reports saying they fled the country, but there has not been an arrest warrant out with their names just yet. And we don't even know if there ever is going to be, because we don't know if what they did was criminal. It is not criminal for a company to lose money in the stock market or in the crypto markets due to the fact that there were so many factors happening over the past couple of months. And one of those main deciding factors, apart from the market going down generally, if Bitcoin and Ethereum goes down 60%, obviously, if you have holdings of over $10 billion, you might lose a couple billion just like that because of macro events and inflation and everything all around it affecting Bitcoin, Ethereum, and in the end affecting your own assets. If you're holding a lot of that, well, you already lost a couple billion there. And then we know for a fact a couple $100 million was inside of the Do Kwon scam that blew up Terra Luna. Over $40 billion was lost. Inside of that was a couple $100 million of Three Arrow Capital. Now, Three Arrow Capital is now going through insolvency in the British Virgin Islands, where it's registered, and one of the main three founders has citizenship over there. And then it is going through bankruptcy in New York as well with a New York attorney company. So the three directors, Mr. Kyle Davies and Su Tzu, those were the main co-founders. And then you have Mark James Dubois. He's a British Virgin Islands resident. Not sure as to exactly how much power he has. Maybe he's just there because, well, similar to a shell company, you need someone to be the director where it's registered at, or maybe he has a fair amount of power. Either ways, Davies and Sue were the main ones, and currently we don't know exactly where they are. Mr. Davies and Mr. Tsu's current location remains unknown. The debtor, in this case, the debtor is Three Arrows Capital, had had certain operations in Singapore. Mr. Davies and Mr. Tsu are rumored to have left Singapore. That's it. That's all it says in the New York bankruptcy documents, which is going to be linked down below. This is on page 4, kind of intermerging between page 3 and page 4. We don't know if they have left the country, but it is highly assumed, especially being a small territory, that they have left the country. Mr. Su Tzu is going to be the most important character out of all of this. He is one of the main co-founders of Three Arrows Capital, which is a Singapore-based hedge fund. And before that, where he was working at Three Arrows Capital for the past 10 and a half years, he was a trader at Deutsche Bank. He traded between 2011 and 2012 in Hong Kong, only for a period of 9 months. And he was a trader before Deutsche Bank for 2 years, 2 months. So altogether, he had 3 years of trading experience before he started up Three Arrows Capital. Now, in the crypto world, 3 years might be a lot. Obviously, being a trader at Deutsche Bank back in 2011, 2012, they weren't trading crypto. I'm sure he found out about crypto relatively early on. And even in 2012, those were the days where Bitcoin and Litecoin and OneCoin and, Namecoin there, that's what it was, Filecoin. You had all of these crazy XRP later on, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, Dogecoin. You had all these crazy projects come out. And there was no DeFi, there was no NFTs. You made a lot of money back there if you knew what you were doing. So he ran the company for a long time, and Kyle Davies, I couldn't find his LinkedIn, looks like it's been removed, but we know that the two of them ran Three Arrows Capital and were able to get hundreds of millions of dollars invested from companies that have been in the news recently, such as Voyager Digital, BlockFi, and Celsius, where all of them had hundreds of millions of dollars. And now with Three Arrows Capital going through bankruptcy, all the others who had hundreds of millions of dollars needed bailouts and are also going through insolvency as well. So it's basically a domino effect. With Su Tzu, we know him being a Singapore resident as of 2016. He also lived in the U.S. since he was 6 years old. He was in the news recently because him and his wife put a GCB, a mansion in Singapore, a good class bungalow. I know it sounds pretty crazy, but there's 2,800 of these GCBs in Singapore, give or take, because there's 2,800 properties, but within one property, some of these rich owners might have two buildings. So you never know. Maybe there's 2,850. Anyways, so there's a small amount compared to the percentage of, obviously, real estate space in Singapore. Being a small country just like Hong Kong with a lot of money, the wealthiest kind of congregate in a couple neighborhoods, and these neighborhoods have houses. These GCBs can cost anywhere from $50 million to $200 million. They're basically giant mansions with specific government restrictions. For example, it has to have at least 1,400 square meters of land area. The bungalow is limited to a maximum of 2 stories in height. For that land, usually they have large properties because they have to have more land, obviously, than the actual mansion itself. The mansion is usually between 1/4 and 1/3 of the total land area. It's pretty crazy. And then you have like these 50, 60 GCBs, which are directly owned by the government. They have to be black and white houses. The facades cannot be changed. It's a very interesting experience. We don't really have that in America. But anybody who owns these GCBs is usually very well connected. And you have to be a Singapore citizen in 99% of cases. If you are a permanent resident, there have been some people who are extremely wealthy who have been able to knock a couple doors and get a GCB, such as Mr. Dyson, who opened the Dyson factory in Singapore, so he's able to get a GCB. Or there was a Malaysian politician who his daughter was able to get a GCB. But the reason I'm telling you guys this is Mr. Sutsu is panic selling his GCB that he put into his son's trust. And this is a GCB mansion that he bought for 49 Singapore million dollars. So it's close to 39 million USD, which is a lot of money. Not only that, it's not the only GCB they have. His wife has another GCB, also, again, probably worth 50 million dollars. All of them are very expensive mansions, and there is a stamp duty. It's a tax in Singapore and Asia. The interest rates are really low for example, loans and credit cards, but taxes can be high for certain things. And the stamp duty, if you purchase a GCB and then you try and sell it within a 3-year period, you can lose up to 12% in that fee. It's basically to try and stop people from selling it rather quickly. So the GCB that's his under his son's name is in Bukit Timah, and he's trying to sell it right now. It's currently under construction. It sits on a 32,000 square foot, 999-year leasehold plot. It's pretty crazy. The purchase was at a per square feet price of Singapore $1,532 per square feet. Pretty crazy. A text message was circulating among property agents in Singapore that there was a very urgent sale for a GCB in Yarwood and that the owners were looking to sell very fast. Mr. Tsu currently resides in a strata-landed home, so they got a couple properties. Obviously, if you're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars, you're able to get that money. So Three Arrow Capital's files for bankruptcy, and then they were reprimanded by the Monetary Authority of Singapore. They reprimanded them for providing false information to them and exceeding the amount of funds it was allowed to manage. So in the bankruptcy paperwork, it says that they have that we're managing $3 billion of assets. We know that the real number was close to 11 billion, and obviously it was affected by the drop. And then the Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS, is also looking into whether there could be more charges, any more breaches by the hedge fund themselves. Three Arrows was at one point in time one of the world's largest hedge funds, even outside of cryptocurrency. So this obviously made massive news. So one of the main reasons was to the downfall of this was obviously the Luna Terra fiasco. They also invested in a lot of NFTs and games such as Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity was affected by a $700 million hack. Then the market generally went down. So you had a lot of stuff that was happening. These guys fell down. After them, a lot of other crypto exchanges fell down, and the dominoes still have not stopped falling. So at the moment, we don't know where Sutsu and Mr. Davies is. Maybe they left the country. Some people are saying even if they haven't been criminally charged, maybe charges might come in the future. If they are never going to get charged, maybe they left the country. Maybe, we don't know. Maybe they're hiding in the country. Maybe they're just traveling. Maybe they're not even trying to hide. Who knows? But we do know that they have been radio silent. They haven't been really communicating with investors. And maybe That's probably what their lawyers advised them to at this point. That would be probably the safest strategy. But also, they probably left for territory where they have a higher chance of not having their funds frozen. That could be a major negotiation power tactic. If they go to a different country, for example, where they're pretty lenient about this stuff and they still have hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions or whatever they're dealing with, they have that money that they're able to use for legal fees and for any tactics to get out of any charges that could be thrown into them. Obviously, if all their funds are frozen for, let's say, a period of, the next decade while they're trying to fight litigation, they're not going to be able to afford the lawyers at a certain point, and the governments, wherever they're going to get charged, if any charges do get brought up, they understand that they will have the power. So maybe that's why they left. So there could be a million other reasons why they left. It's rumored that they left, we don't know, but it's very interesting. If they did leave because of criminal misdoing, then yeah, they could be facing charges, and that would be a pretty bad precedent considering maybe they were cooking the books. Maybe they're, running a Ponzi scheme. Who knows? But at the moment, doesn't seem like they were doing anything illegal, just massive mistakes. But most of crypto, most of these exchanges and hedge funds and lending companies were over leveraged, and maybe that's part of the reason why we were able to get to such a crazy all-time high because of this leverage. Maybe we would have not been anywhere close. Who knows? But the entire market was basically like 2008. So thanks so much for watching today's video. Have a great rest of your day and take care.